Hi, this video hopes to give you a jump start on the TSI DPDP CMS. This is an open source consent management system. It has been developed based on MATI's BRD. We hope to sort of refine it and make it compliant with India's DPDP Act. So here is the high level functional flow. The heart of the system is a consent manager. And as you know, data fiduciary is any organization that collects personally identifiable information for like purposes such as processing loan or offering healthcare, etc. All data fiduciaries need to necessarily implement this consent manager. So before they collect any data, they have to get a consent from their customers or the data principals. The data principal need to give consent for specific purpose. That consent will be stored in the consent manager. Once the consent has been given, then the data fiduciary should collect the data and store that data into their system, right? So this is step 2. Now, the moment this data is there, any application within the organization or any third-party application that wants to use the data should first validate the consent, which is highlighted in step 3. So the data processor needs to validate the consent, and if the consent is there, needs to request the data fiduciary system for the data, and data fiduciary system in turn returns the data. So this is the flow that needs to be followed, right? At any point of time, whether this data principal decides to modify or withdraw the consent, they should be able to notify the consent manager, and consent manager in turn needs to notify the data fiduciary system and all the data processors, right? So once if the consent is modified, then accordingly, or if it is being withdrawn, then the data processor needs to ensure that the data has been sort of purged from the corresponding systems. Right, so this is broadly the flow. At periodic basis, the consent manager should also be able to send out a report to the data protection board. So let's move on to the technical flow. Consent manager has like core set of services around for policy, data principal service, grievance, etc. And the solution also exposes client SDKs, one for ingesting the consent data from the data principals, and then there are APIs available for processors to validate the consent and take actions such as purging, etc. And those APIs should be able to talk to their existing enterprise systems, and also the same thing is sort of applicable for third-party systems as well. Hope this helps. Yeah, thank you.